Hello everyone, I'm Chad Kay, and I'll be talking today about unicorns. Each week, I will speak on a different topic. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with interesting facts about various things, with peaceful, relaxing music in the background. The goal is to help you relax and drift off into a meditative state, or to help you drift off to sleep after a busy day. So find a comfortable spot or lie down. Close your eyes if you want and lose yourself in these relaxing facts. Unicorns. The unicorn is a legendary creature that has been described since antiquity as a beast with a single large, pointed, spiraling horn projecting from its forehead. In European literature and art, the unicorn has, for the last 1,000 years or so, been depicted as a white horse or goat-like animal with a long, straight horn with spiraling grooves, cloven hooves, and sometimes a goat's beard. In the Middle Ages and Renaissance, it was commonly described as an extremely wild woodland creature, a symbol of purity and grace, which could be captured only by a virgin. In encyclopedias, its horn was described as having the power to make poisoned water drinkable and to heal sickness. In medieval and Renaissance times, the tusk of the narwhal was sometimes sold as a unicorn horn. A bovine type of unicorn is thought by some scholars to have been depicted in seals of the Bronze Age Indus Valley civilization, the interpretation remaining controversial. An equine form of the unicorn was mentioned by the ancient Greeks in accounts of natural history. The Bible also describes an animal, the ram, which some translations render as unicorn. It's mentioned 9 times in the Hebrew Bible, often in passages describing strength and power. A creature with a single horn, otherwise called a unicorn, is the most common image on the soapstone stamp seals of the Bronze Age Indus Valley civilization from the centuries around 2000 BC. It has a body more like a cow than a horse, and a curved horn that goes forward, then up at the tip. The mysterious feature coming down from the front of the back is usually shown. It may represent a harness or other covering. Typically, the unicorn faces a vertical object with at least 2 stages. This is variously described as a ritual offering stand, an incense burner, or a manger. The animal is always in profile on Indus seals, but the theory that it represents animals with 2 horns, one hiding the other, is disproved by a number of small terracotta unicorns, probably toys, and the profile depictions of bulls where both horns are clearly shown. It is thought that the unicorn was the symbol of a powerful clan or merchant community, but may also have had some religious significance. In South Asia, the unicorn is only seen during the Indus Valley civilization period and disappeared in South Asian art after this. Jonathan Mark Kinnoyer stated that the Indus Valley unicorn has no direct connection with later unicorn motifs observed in other parts of the world. However, it remains possible that the Indus Valley unicorn had contributed to later myths of fantastical one-horned creatures in West Asia. Unicorns are not found in Greek mythology, but rather in the accounts of natural history, for Greek writers of natural history were convinced of the reality of unicorns, which they believed lived in India, a distant and fabulous realm for them. The earliest description is from Tejas, who in his book Indica, meaning on India, described them as wild asses, fleet of foot, having a horn, a cubit and a half, which is 700 millimeters, or 28 inches, in length, and colored white, red, and black. Unicorn meat was said to be too bitter to eat. Tejas got his information while living in Persia. Unicorns, or more likely, winged bulls, appear in reliefs at the ancient Persian capital of Persepolis in Iran. Aristotle must be following Tejas when he mentions two one-horned animals, the oryx, a kind of antelope, and the so-called Indian donkey. Antigonus of Carystus also wrote about the one-horned Indian donkey. Strabo says that in the Caucasus there were one-horned horses with stag-like heads. Pliny the Elder mentions the oryx and an Indian ox, perhaps a greater one-horned rhinoceros, as one-horned beasts, as well as a very fierce animal called a monoceros, which has the head of the stag, the feet of the elephant, and the tail of the boar, while the rest of the body is like that of the horse. It makes a deep, lowing sound and has a single black horn, which projects from the middle of its forehead 2 cubits, which is 900 millimeters, or 35 inches, in length. In the writing called On the Nature of Animals, Aelian, quoting Tejas, adds that India produces also a one-horned horse and says that the monoceros was sometimes called Cartazonos, which may be a form of the Arabic Karkadan, meaning rhinoceros. Medieval knowledge of unicorns came from biblical and ancient sources, and unicorns were represented as a kind of wild donkey, goat, or horse. Several European medieval travelers claimed to have seen unicorns in their travels outside of Europe. For example, Felix Fabry claimed to have seen a unicorn in Sinai. The predecessor of the medieval bestiary, compiled in late antiquity and known as Physiologus, popularized an allegory in which a unicorn, trapped by a maiden, representing the Virgin Mary, stood for the Incarnation. As soon as the unicorn sees her, it lays its head on her lap and falls asleep. This became a basic image that underlies medieval ideas of the unicorn, justifying its appearance in both secular and religious art. The unicorn is often shown hunted, raising parallels both with vulnerable virgins and sometimes the Passion of Christ. The myths refer to a beast with one horn that can only be tamed by a virgin. Some writers translated this into an allegory for Christ's relationship with the Virgin Mary. The horn itself and the substance it was made of was called alicorn, and it was believed that the horn holds magical and healing properties. The Danish physician Ole Worm determined in 1638 that the alleged alicorns were the tusks of narwhals. Such beliefs were examined in 1646 by Sir Thomas Browne. False alicorn powder, made from the tusks of narwhals or horns of various animals, was sold in Europe for medicinal purposes as late as 1741. The alicorn was thought to cure many diseases and have the ability to detect poisons, and many physicians would make cures and sell them. Cups were made from alicorn for kings and given as a gift. These were usually made of ivory or walrus ivory. Entire horns were very precious in the Middle Ages and were often really the tusks of narwhals. The famous late Gothic series of 7 tapestry hangings, called The Hunt of the Unicorn, are a high point in European tapestry manufacture, combining both secular and religious themes. The tapestries now hang in the Cloisters division of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. In the series, richly dressed noblemen, accompanied by huntsmen and hounds, pursue a unicorn against mifleur backgrounds or settings of buildings and gardens. They bring the animal to bay with the help of a maiden who traps it with her charms, appears to kill it, and bring it back to a castle. In the last and most famous panel, The Unicorn in Captivity, the unicorn is shown alive again and happy, chained to a pomegranate tree, surrounded by a fence, in a field of flowers. Scholars say that the red stains on its flanks are not blood, but rather the juice from pomegranates, which were a symbol of fertility. However, the true meaning of the mysterious resurrected unicorn in the last panel is unclear. The series was woven about 1500 in the Low Countries, probably Brussels or Liège, for an unknown patron. A set of 6 engravings on the same theme, treated rather differently, were engraved by the French artist Jean Duvet in the 1540s. In heraldry, a unicorn is often depicted as a horse with the goat's cloven hooves and beard, a lion's tail, and a slender spiral horn on its forehead. Whether because it was an emblem of the incarnation or of the fearsome animal passions of raw nature, the unicorn was not widely used in early heraldry, but became popular from the 15th century. Though sometimes shown collared and chained, which may be taken as an indication that it has been tamed or tempered, it is more usually shown collared with a broken chain attached, showing that it has broken free from its bondage. This concludes my talk this week about unicorns. If you have enjoyed this episode of Relaxing Facts, then please subscribe to this podcast or leave a comment if you wish. I hope you have a wonderful day, whether you're de-stressing from the day's events or if you're just passing the time by listening. I thank you very much. My name is Chad K, and I'll see you next time. Bye.